Hello and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show. I'm your host Dylan Sanders from Saints Wire and Pelicans Roundtable, and things are running here as smoothly as the Chicago Bears run game.
John Hendricks, New Orleans football, and I still don't know when the Saints are going to win a game next.
Never.
I'm Darian Gray of Who Dat Dish, and at this point, I'm just ready for No Limit versus Cash Money.
This is former Saints wide receiver Lance Moore, and I've got nothing.
It's the Saints Squad. Everything New Orleans Saints, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from down in the Big Easy, the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Saints Squad Show, starting now.
Howdy, that nation, and welcome back to the Saints Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen every Sunday and Wednesday. We have a unique group of experts here ready to bring you a fun and informative show on everything New Orleans Saints. Today, we're going to be diving into the loss that just happened. The Saints fell to the Bears. They couldn't get revenge on Dennis Allen. We're going to go through the offense, the defense, some players of the game, stuff like that. And really just, try and get past this loss together as a family. Today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Okay, we're just going to address it at the top. We have already done the first 5 minutes of the show because, but the audio is, really, really poor. The NFL does not want us talking about this game. That's where I'll go with it. But no, we're just going to run it back from the top. Let's get our instant reactions going, and let's start off this time with Darian.
Oh, so you're peeling back the curtain. I'm actually the only one who didn't give their instant reaction. So this was just disappointing football. I came back from the road, and I texted the chat. I said, hey, guys, what did I miss? Nothing. And then I got back, and I started watching, and I felt like I could have kept going and missed nothing. I could have stayed on the road for this. And, this was one of the more disappointing games, and I think that the last 2 weeks have been a bit of a humbling experience with the Saints. After that first win versus the Giants, I think that there may have been some, and Lance pointed this out, there may have been some who was like, hey, we won, but it wasn't the best performance. And it felt like the same struggles continued. The offense wasn't able to get completely rolling. Outside of that end of the first half, beginning of the second half, where you had 2 touchdowns, you didn't get anything rolling. Olave had, I think, 6 catches this time for 98 yards in the first 3 quarters. And oddly enough, he still didn't cross the century mark. I don't know what it is, but Olave has had 98 yards in the first 3 quarters of the last 2 weeks. And I think he had a better game. So this is not a criticism off of what happened last week. But it's just so odd to me that he's had high yardage, but not crossed that century mark with 15 minutes to play. Just strange to me. But I just recently thought about this during our break. His game was really indicative of the Saints offense in the sense that Olave had 2 really good drives. His last drive of the first half, he had a 57-yard pass and he had a 21-yard pass. And then he comes back. The next drive has a 14-yard touchdown after that. You put that all together, that's 92 of his 98 yards that he had the entire game off those 3 catches. And you take away those 2 drives for the Saints, the offense did nothing. And I think that Olave, who is probably going to be multiple players of the game, I don't know how many bright spots you can pick from this one, but it's interesting how his day went the same way as the Saints offense in totality.
Yeah, it was, it felt good to see a Chris Olave game that, this is the game that, we've all been asking to have. He had it, and it didn't really matter in the long run, which hurts. Let's go with John. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I think this is what's hard is I think where fans are at is like you could have won this game. Like I think that's where you look at some of these. These are winnable games. These are games where had it not been for the repeated shoot yourself in the foot or do all these types of things, you could have possibly won this game. The fact is, Spencer Rattler didn't really look that good today. He took a bunch of sacks, whether that was his fault or not. He still got a bunch of sacks. He turned the ball over, strip sack by Montez Sweat, the first one, then the 3 picks. One of them, I don't know what he was thinking. Another one threw behind to Mason Tipton. he can't get a pass on this game, right? Those two big throws to Olave or some of the stuff to Jawan Johnson, that doesn't get him a pass for the today. You know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, the run defense, golly, I had to look it up. The 4 Bears runners had 6.2 yards per carry or higher. Now, 2 of those, one rushed by Roschon Johnson, 11 yards. And DJ Moore had 9 yards, but DeAndre Swift and Monangai, 6.2 and 6.5 yards a carry. I mean, that just doesn't get it done on run defense. Like, you can't control the tempo. You can't control the game when you're not controlling the trenches, and it works both sides. But, and I pointed this out, but, from a first half perspective, this team can't get off to a good start. They've been outscored 141-72. And if you take away the Seattle game where they self-destructed, it's 103-72. So you're talking about a 38-point difference. It's 69 points differential right now. But it's just, they cannot get off to a good start. They always go away, and I just don't know for the life of me why that continues to happen. But I think where fans sit is it's frustrating because it's like, had it gone a couple of different ways, maybe even if the Taysom thing wasn't an illegal forward pass, this could have been a lot more interesting. Just too much shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. Talking about that run defense, not counting the kneels at the end of the game, Bears runners averaged 5.9 yards per carry. I mean,
insane. 222 they gave up on the ground.
Yeah, it's impossible to win an NFL game like that. Lance, how are you feeling right now?
I want to comment on the run game, both for the Bears and for the Saints. It looked like obviously it was 2 different offenses, but it just looked like 2 totally different pictures. Every single Bears run, the back was not even being touched until they were 4, 5, or more yards down the field.
Yep.
Every single running play that the Saints had, there was multiple players on defense who penetrated into the backfield, and ball carriers were being contacted usually before they even got to the line of scrimmage. So you talk about a difference in what the run game totals look like at the end of the game. Well, there's your answer for why it looked the way that it looked. The Bears found a way to block guys up. Our defenders found a way to get blocked, and vice versa when we had the football. Their defensive line found a way to dominate our guys up front, and our guys seem to be turning into spectators on run plays. I would look, there would be 4 or 5 Bears defenders around the ball. The Saints offensive linemen are on the opposite side of where the ball carrier was going, looking back at the ball carrier. Well, that's not a recipe for success. So 2 teams that obviously operated differently as far as the running game goes in this football game. It's disappointing. To me, it's not about scheme when you're talking about run game. It's not about, Ben Johnson's scheme running the football is so much better than Kellen Moore's. No, it's not. It's will up front by both your offensive and defensive lines. Get your guy blocked. Or on the flip side, defense, win your matchup. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Execution.
It's execution. It's not X's and O's in the run game. It's execution. There's not any fantastic scheme that's going to scheme holes open on run plays. It's execution. It's the guys handling their business up front. We didn't do it on either side of the ball in this game. So, yes, if an offense has 4 turnovers and a defense gives up over 200 yards rushing in a game, I would be interested to see what percentage winner that is for your team. Probably less than 10%. So, I mean, like that, obviously I didn't really have much negative to say in the first go round of this reaction thing before the stream broke. But after further thought and reflection, I figured we're talking about the run game. So let's talk about it.
Wake it up.
It's will to me in the run game. We got all these big time paid and early round draft picks up front, but they can't block anybody, or they didn't choose to today. And it wasn't just in the run game where it showed up. It happened in the passing game too. There was literally pressure the entirety of that football game. So I'm not putting the whole loss on the offensive line or even the defensive line, but it starts up front. And so if they can't handle their business, it's hard for everybody else to get going as well. Sure, Spencer Rattler wasn't great. Sure, there were situations where the back end, the second and third line of defense let us down. But it always starts up front. And if we can't get that right, it's going to be hard to win another game this entire season, not just trying to get back and get something going. Like, it's going to be tough sledding if we can't protect and or run the football or stop the run on defense. That's just where we're at.
Yeah.
There was pressure on 40% of dropbacks.
And that to me seemed light. It seemed worse than that.
Yeah.
I like
40% is not a good number.
Go ahead, guys. I like the fact that the stream broke, because I'm gonna be honest, I like this Lance. This Lance right here. This is what I was looking for.
Lance that was like first half Lance and second half Lance. Had us in the first half. Not gonna lie.
Come on now. I'll say this. What I'll say is, we came in here in the first go round and we had very limited energy, right? I think that we were reflective of the way that the Saints were in that game, in which we were just kind of floating through. It kind of felt like that. Now, this is just my personal analysis of the first 5 minutes, but I feel like now we're in a zone. Now we've kind of woken up, and now we're going to carry this momentum, unlike the Saints did. But we're going to carry this momentum for a great show for everybody, right? And what Lance brought up is one of the talking points that isn't on the right side of the screen that needs to be addressed on a deeper level. The difference between how they ran the ball and how the Saints ran the ball was obvious for anybody to see. If you've never watched football before and you sat down and watched that game, you could tell who was in control at every moment. It was insane. It felt like from an offensive side, from a defensive side, there was one particular play where it felt like the entire offensive line for Chicago, not just the direction they were running, but the entire 5-man unit. And if there was a tight end on that play, that 6-man unit got the entire defensive line pushed back like 3 yards. And I've seen that on one side of the line of scrimmage before, but I don't usually see that with an entire offensive line. That was the type of domination that may have only happened on one play in that specific scenario, but it was different levels of that. Going to the right, going to the left, didn't matter. It felt like it was dominating. And for Chicago's defense, it felt like anytime the Saints tried to get some misdirection or try to do some sort of eye candy to trick them, they were prepared for all of it. It was almost as if Dennis had, because obviously we know Dennis Allen revenge game and everything. I thought we were going to get revenge. Turned out to be Allen. But it felt like Dennis was like, oh, I know the type of plays they run. They were here last year. It felt like there was continuity from last year's scheme with how frequently that he had his players right where they needed to be, no matter how much the Saints tried to dress it up. Even on that shovel pass to Shaheed, Edmonds was right there. And it just felt like oftentimes, no matter what the Saints tried to do, the Bears were just consistently one step ahead.
Well, and let's also
it looked like they played harder. It looked like the Bears were playing harder to me, especially up front.
Oh, it's self-evident. I mean, not only that, but let's also not forget how many times the Saints were gifted first downs because of a Bears penalty on defense too. Like that stuff matters. And also, we were talking about the trenches. They couldn't get a pass rush going to save their lives. I don't know how many times Caleb Williams had like almost 10 seconds to throw or do something. Like it's not just about the run defense. It's about the front trenches, and your trenches just aren't good. I don't care if it's scheme. It's just execution. And if you can't win one-on-one matchups, if you can't finish the plays, then this is where we're at, right? And on the offensive side, it's the same thing. But there's just so much blame to go around on this entire thing. And that's why I said I think Chris Olave is probably the only bright spot from this game. Like, you can't solely place blame on Rattler, I'd say. He has a lot of dirty hands in this game, right? Like, I think Rattler is one of the reasons why they lost this game. The defense is also a big reason why they lost this game. This is just, it's maddening because this team just continues to find ways to beat themselves every single week.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pass rush. I think we gave Young a pass last week because first game coming back and all of that. And I know that technically this is only the second game, but I've seen this repeatedly. He is a cornhole rusher. He is a close but no cigar rusher. We were almost there rusher. I think that's almost what he is on a consistent basis. And I don't mean to pass these judgments after 2 games, but I saw it last year as well. This is something that we've seen consistently. And I feel like he almost got to Caleb Williams about 5-6 times, it felt like, to be honest. It felt like he was whether it was I was a step too late or he just reacted quicker. It wasn't a lot of getting shrugged off the quarterback. It wasn't missed tackles.
He had 5 pressures.
5 pressures, right? Each time it never felt like he was really close. Except for the sack he did get. I think, did he get a half sack?
Half sack with Brzee. Yeah.
Okay, so outside of that, and that was largely because finally you got pressure from the outside and the inside, so there was nowhere to go, right? That was Brzee pushing right in the interior, so that if he did have to float back, which he didn't try, but if he did have to float back, Young would have been right there, and that's complimentary pass rush. But all of the other pressures, it never felt like he even had a chance to get to Caleb Williams, and this is just, to me, a recurring thing for him. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't want to go too hard on it because we've seen it, and it's not. I don't feel like beating a dead horse on that subject, but it was just something that stood out more than other weeks, in my opinion.
Almost counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. That's all.
Well, I also feel like for the most part, pressures is a useless sack. What are we talking about? Like, great quarterbacks, pressure doesn't matter. That ball's getting out. Go ahead and
Drew Brees.
I'll take 100%. I'll take that shot and get the ball off. Like, get the sack.
I don't know if I fully agree that it's a useless stat. I know we got to get to the break, so we can do it on the other side.
I think it's mostly useless.
I want to get into that. I kind of want to talk about that a little more, but I know we have ads, so I'm gonna let you do what you got to do, Dylan, and then we'll get to the other side.
Oh boy, here we go.
We'll come back. But hey, no, this is it's been a hectic day. This is a normal day. But when we come back, we'll talk about pressures, and then we'll get into the offensive line and offensive performance because it wasn't a great one. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your team and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's SAD, software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now, you can get 6 months free if you go to rippling.com/lockedonNFL. That's 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonNFL. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You can just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing yards, and you're in the game. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride a player, I just did this with Jaden Daniels against the awful Cowboys defense. I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. And the new injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, and we're back. Let's get to these pressure stats. We'll talk about pressure stats, see if it matters, because, we saw today that pressure does affect the game, but we saw how 2 different quarterbacks handled pressure. You see Caleb Williams, he's running all around, doing all that. He did everything he could to get the ball out. You kind of want to see Spencer Rattler use his legs a little bit more. Instead, he stood in there. He did take some hits, and then he threw some pretty bad interceptions. Darian and Lance, let's continue this conversation about pressures. I think, Darian, were you about to go?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing because I think pressures are kind of similar to tackles, where when solely put on a paper, they don't tell nearly enough of the story of how those stats are impactful. So sometimes pressure doesn't matter. Like sometimes it was a quick throw or maybe the coverage was there for a long time. So I think pressures are similar to tackles in a sense of Was it a TFL? Was it a 1 yard stop? Was it 10 yards down the field? So I think from that side, I could see how pressures could be looked at as a useless stat. But I also think when contextualized, pressure means a lot, right? So I just wanted to see kind of just a little bit more on how you felt about that, Lance.
Well, I think you're wrong.
All right, talk to me. Talk to me. So how do you view pressure?
I guess with context, sure. A pressure, I'm not going to say pressures, a pressure can mean something. But if you're a guy that at the end of the year has 47 pressures and 1.5 sacks, then those pressures don't matter. That's kind of where I was going with that. Like, sure, pressures, especially in specific situations in the game, pressures do matter, right? It makes the quarterback have to speed things up. It makes the offense a little bit more uncomfortable. But a pressure doesn't necessarily make a play. I'm not saying that pressures never matter. I think that was kind of what it sounded like. But I do think that it is a stat that has come into play a lot more recently than in the past. And I just think with a little extra context, specific to what that guy is doing in addition to said pressures, I think that's why it becomes a useless stat. And it's always the same story with Chase Young. This guy has got pressure. He's got pressure again. He's got pressure again. But the quarterback can see him, make spin moves out of the way, make Chase Young go the other way, and then he's moving. And I do think a lot of who you're playing against matters. Like a guy that is able to move like Caleb Williams, a guy that is able to handle those types of pressures and step and make throws like a Drake May last week. I think it is less important of a stat than sacks or plays actually being made. I did a great job. I got pressure. Okay, cool. But they just got another first down.
Yeah.
To me, okay, what happens on those 5 pressures that Chase Young? Let's do a deeper dive. Like this is where I wish we had a little stats and analytics team. What happened on those 5 pressures?
I can tell you if it was anything like what my memory says, Caleb Williams did ran around the corner and was able to get the ball off. Right? Like, that's
did that Michael Jackson Thriller dance.
You know what I'm
we can see on it doesn't say who, but on when facing pressure, Caleb Williams was 2 for 9 with 40 yards in this game. And Spencer Rattler was 4 for 9 with 69 yards, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, and I want to say this to Lance's point. I do think that clarification was important because I was a little bit lost on it. I think that I do agree in the sense that pressures are not the end all be all. And if you're not also pairing them with sacks, it becomes a stat that's easy to shrug off, right? And that's what I wanted. That's why I wanted to pick where you were going with that, because you know it's important to illustrate. And now I have a little bit of understanding. And let's get into Rattler because I know that's probably the main attraction. Everybody like we want to talk about Rattler, but I just want to talk a little ball with a former NFL player, God forbid, right? But like I just want to talk a little bit when it comes to Rattler. This is the first game where I felt like he was all downhill. And it felt like he came in, one, to test what he could do down the field. And I support that. I hated the results and how it kept happening, but I did support knowing his limits. I wish that he would have limited himself at some point. But I do like trying to figure out those limits because we kept saying, push the ball downfield. I don't think a turnover kills you. Now, 4, that's really rough. And this is what the Bears do. The Bears take the ball away. I believe this is their 4th game in a row with 3 forced turnovers. So this is what this defense does. I probably wouldn't have decided to test it this week, but I guess if you were ever going to do it, it had to happen at some point, and mistakes were going to happen. I just think that with the shuck aspect right around the corner, always over his shoulder, it does make me wonder, how does a game like this, where it was really all bad for what I thought was the first time this year, how does that come into play when talking about the future and how people are going to speak about what quarterback we need to see? I've already seen it in the comments, right? Like, Shuck wouldn't have done this, or all right, well, he wasn't in there. But what happens moving forward? That's the next question, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we've been to not come to the rescue, but we've defended Rattler a lot this season because I do think that there are a lot of times where he has made like not the best play, but overall his play has been good enough to win games. Well, stay in games, not win games. That's like the big conversation around him. And today was a day where he was like plainly outmatched. He looked bad. He made poor decisions. He missed throws and never really had that moment outside of a couple of throws. He had that last drive of the first half. He hit with Olave on that big throw, and he had a nice throw on the touchdown pass. But outside of that, it was a really bad game. And it's, we have to, talk about that just as much as we did defending him, because now this was kind of an indefensible game, in my opinion. John, what do you think about Rattler in this one and what it means for the Saints quarterbacks moving forward?
Well, here's the thing. One bad game is not going to get a quarterback change for him. It's just not. They're going to ride with him and I'm curious to see how he bounces back, if he can, against the Bucs next week. But the Bucs and the Rams, I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, they're probably going to 1-8, right? And he's probably not going to beat the Bucs. You're probably not going to beat the Rams. You got Carolina, then you got the bye week. After the bye week, I could see a change at quarterback being made. And whether that's fair to him or not, I'm not going to sit here and say that or not. But some of the things.
If you're 1-8, it's fair.
It's fair, but it's fair. And again, what's the direction of your program? What are you trying to evaluate? What are you trying to look for? But today's performance, the first half, they had 4 yards at one point. And then they got that big drive at the end of the half. And then suddenly they went up to 179 yards of that second drive. But the decisions that were made, it just didn't look comfortable at all. And I get some of that falls on the offensive scheme. Some of that falls on the trenches. Some of it falls there. But, quarterback pressures, not to bring this full circle, or pressures does fall on the quarterback some, guys. Like, that's the thing is that could be a pressure or a thing that a quarterback absorbs. Like, you can hold the ball, you can decide not to throw, and you're getting pressured and stuff. But, the picks were not good. Like, there was a chance where he's running out of the pocket, running to the sideline, and looks like he's trying to be on the same page with Shaheed, and it just throws an arm punt to Kevin Byard. Like that's not a good play. That's not a good look. And then the interception where you're trying to get Mason Tipton, that's behind Mason Tipton. So what do you expect is going to happen? And then the other one, I don't know why in the world on a 4th and 1 you're choosing to pass the ball instead of Ryan trying to run it. Taysom Hill could have got you 1 yard. I feel like he could have got one.
Maybe
I would even.
We've seen him fail. We've seen him fail to get 1 yard a couple of times this season.
I agree. They would have, but I would have liked that as a higher percentage play than what they tried to do, because that wasn't it. Like, Jack Stahl was the closest intended receiver there. That just doesn't cut it. And so that to me is something. But the turnover early, 4 turnovers. 1 bad game from Rattler. I don't think it's going to bench him or, anything, but it's coming soon enough if this continues. I'll say that.
I think it was good to see him keep playing after how rough it started. Because it was bad. It was lack of execution. It was we can't run the ball. It was we obviously can't throw the ball either. It was penalties. Right. It was really, really bad. And to be almost to halftime and have 4 yards of offense is insane. You're on pace for 8 yards in a game, in an NFL game at that. Like, that's pretty crazy. But he responded twice, and then it kind of went downhill from there. I do feel like there's situations where his pass catchers let him down a little bit. On the specific play to Mason Tipton, they showed the replay. And without knowing what the actual play was or being in the meetings and knowing what the specific route depth and width is supposed to be, I would say that is partially on Mason Tipton. Sure, the ball was behind him, but like Darian likes to point out, let's give a little context here. To me, it seemed like 2 things. Like Mason Tipton was a little bit early breaking in, which that usually means he's short on his route depth. And if Spencer Rattler's trying to hurry to get the ball to him because he's early, usually that ball is going to be behind him because that was where he was supposed to be when the ball is thrown, not where he actually was. So I would say, when I'm coaching young receivers and stuff, I would say, give me 2 more strides. So if Mason Tipton gives him 2 more strides, so obviously vertically before he breaks in, that was a right-hand turn that he made. If he gives us 2 more strides, he's about 4 to 5 yards deeper. And at the top of the route, which he didn't do a great job of, he has to be friendly. What does that mean? You can't keep your route up the field more and more and more. That invites an undercut by the DB, which is what he did to get the pick. You want to be as flat as humanly possible and a little bit back to the quarterback so you can basically beat the defender to the football. I'm not trying to absolve Spencer Rattler of the credit for the interception, but I do feel like the pass catcher could have done him a favor by maintaining his route depth integrity. 2 more steps, and I feel like that's a completion and a first down. I'm not saying it's all on the receiver because, like I said, I wasn't in the meeting room. I don't know for sure, but just judging off of how that specific play went down, that would be my estimation as to why it happened that way. But
before you go further, if that was the case, what should we how should we evaluate Rattler's part in that play? Right? If you're saying give me 2 more strides and all of those things, if it's a timing route and the receiver kind of throws off the timing, what responsibility do we place on the quarterback in that situation?
Well, I mean, he threw the pick, so it's on him, but it's really on the receiver, and you see it a lot. Younger receivers have a tendency to get a little antsy, and they want to, because they see, okay, shoot, the middle of the field's wide open. Let me hurry up and get in there. But that's not how it works. All really, really good timing-oriented offenses have specifics for steps and or route depth. And if you don't make it to that spot and the quarterback is on time, which it seemed like Spencer Rattler was, the ball ends up behind you. And it happens on in-breaking routes and out-breaking routes all the time. So if the receiver is early on his break, guess who else is early on their break? The defensive back. And if the ball's behind them, then that's more time for that, or that's a better position for the DB to be in a trail position to go ahead and make the pick. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, let's actually, I'm gonna keep with the Rattler conversation a little bit more when we come back, but we're gonna jump to break real quick, and we jump back, continue this offensive talk. Mazda builds cars for those who do more than just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, more IIHS Top Safety Plus pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, let's get into this offensive, continue on with the offensive talk. I have a question that I want to raise. John already gave his opinion on it. When do you go to Tyler Shuck? I feel like it's part of the conversation and kind of has to start happening now. 1-6, this pretty bad performance overall. You know, like we were saying, some of it might not have all been his fault, but there were also plays that ended out in his favor that could have ended way worse. There's, thankfully they had a pass breakup on offense for one of the cornerbacks. Broke up that
right. That is a good point.
And there are a couple other plays, but when do you go to Tyler Shuck? I'll start with Darian.
Well, my initial stance on that was, or when I say my initial stance, I mean 2 weeks ago. When did we have that conversation? About 2-3 weeks ago, right before the New York game, I believe. And I still think it's going to be that Bears game, or maybe right after the bye week. I think those are the two places to look, because I don't think that Rattler's going to look that good against the Bucks and the Rams. And even if he does, it kind of reaches back to the point that we used to make, which is when Rattler didn't have his first win, everybody kept saying it doesn't matter if he's not the reason you lost if you don't win a game. There's only so long that you can survive as a 0-win quarterback. And then when he beat the Giants, that conversation stalled out. Well, I'm here to bring it back, because there's only so long you can survive as a 1-win quarterback. Like you mentioned earlier, Dylan, if you're 1-8, it is fair. If you're 1-8, no one's trying to hear, well, he's making progress. At the end of the day, when you have another quarterback who was drafted higher than you, that was drafted by this regime and is coming into his rookie year, while you're going into your second year, he's the new shiny toy. People are going to want to know what he has. And honestly, it's responsible to know what he has, because you're going to go into the next draft class and probably at least scout some quarterbacks. Who knows what you're going to do with them, but you want to have a good idea of who Tyler Shuck is, as well as Spencer Rattler. And if he goes to 1-8, 1-9, I just find it very difficult to say we're going to continue with his development. No, I find it difficult to believe that they'll do that. Eventually, you're going to have to go see what the other quarterback has if the quarterback you're having right now is not giving you wins.
Yeah. Lance, how do you feel?
Who do we have after the bye week?
I'll tell you a second. You have the Bucks, then the Rams, and then the Panthers, which that would be interesting. I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
Then you have Atlanta.
Atlanta
at home.
Which
I think that's the game.
Yeah.
I think that's the game regardless of what happens the next 3 weeks, honestly. Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny. What more do you need to see?
I mean, that's fair.
I mean,
and the only reason I'm saying they wait is so that Tyler Shuck gets 2 weeks to prep for Atlanta. Because I was honestly kind of leaning towards maybe even Carolina, because we're gonna be 1-8. Like, we're gonna be a 1-8 football team going into that Carolina game. Does Kellen Moore want Tyler Shuck's first start to be on the road? Like I think you give him 2 weeks to kind of prepare, maybe hopefully re-galvanize the team after the bye. The home crowd will probably cheer him, like to make him feel good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the timing, and then that way you get a good 7-week look at him.
Let me throw some out there. Two situations on getting Shuck in. Give him 2 weeks, the bye week and the actual game week, to prepare for his debut, or he starts against Carolina and then you have that full bye week in a secondary week to kind of review his first game and kind of fine tune some things. Like, how do you guys look at those two game plans?
I think if we're on the road at Carolina and it's not looking good, I think Shuck plays. I think they get him in there, and like, if this was Carolina and we're going, like, I think as stuff wasn't going well, okay, let's throw him in there. Let's see how he responds to what's going on out here. Give him a chance to get his feet wet again, because it's been a while. And then you go into the bye week. Okay, hey, you're our guy. Let's go. Like, this is not going to be sure. It's going to be your first start, but it's not going to be your first time that you've played in a long time. And I mean, I think no matter what happens these next 3 weeks, I think coming out of the bye, he's going to be the starter for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I think Rattler would have to pull off an upset. Like, I think that, like, I'm right there with you. I'm
maybe more than one.
90.
Yeah. I just don't see it. I mean, and that's the thing is,
I'm at a 90. Yeah. I'm right there with Lance, where I don't think it matters either, because I don't think any of the things that he would have to do will realistically happen. So if he's at 100, I'm at 98, 95.
Yeah.
I mean, they just got torched for 222 yards on the ground, and you got Kyron Williams next week, and then you got Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, presumably, then Kyron Williams, then Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. I mean, they got to find a run defense too, and I just don't feel comfortable about them. And Bijan too. So it's just a lot of things where it's like with Rattler's timing, again, like I said, whether it's fair or unfair. And the thing I'd say about this one, this last year crap, like the whole he went 0 and whatever, like, just look at it for what it is this year. He's 1-6, right? Yeah. As the Saints starter, This year, he's the 1-6. So the stuff last year, I get it. It's going to be counted against him. But just look at the facts for this year. He's 1-6. Just base it off of that, not the guy from last year. And still, you're going to end up making a quarterback change at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of the, let's talk a little bit about the run defense. You mentioned it a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of changes in the front seven. You're seeing a little bit more Isaiah Stallbird. You're seeing some more Danny Stutzman. And I think that is, not by accident and a great decision because, as the weeks get on, Pete Werner has not gotten better this season, and this was another pretty bad game for him. So it's good to see them going with a little bit younger of a thing. And can I say, Danny Stutzman hits hard whenever he hits somebody, and it's fun to watch. And I think that he is going to be a big part of that run defense. And I'm interested to see Isaiah Stallbird. He's been more of a passing downs guy, but I'm interested to see him against the run as well. What do y'all think?
I mean, this
can't
is
wait.
your guy, right?
Yeah.
This is
Beans and cornbread type of guy. That's. I mean,
I think it starts with the front though. Like the linebackers can't be freed up to make plays consistently if the guys up front don't do their job. It's it's not a great run defense isn't your defensive linemen penetrating gaps most of the time. It's them holding gaps down, usually getting two guys to buy them so that you get free runners on the second level. If our defensive linemen are getting knocked back like they were today, usually into the laps of the second level guys or knocked back and then guys coming off of that block onto the second level guys, that's how you end up having running backs running scot-free into your secondary. Like it's got to start up front for us to be able to see what these backers can do in the run game. DeMario continues to make plays every week, man. He finds a way. He makes offensive linemen miss. He gets through the gaps. He makes plays in the backfield. Like, I love to see it. Like he continues to just play hard, and he's got high energy. But if the guys up front continue to get knocked back 3, 4, 5 yards per carry, it's going to be impossible for us to stop the run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if y'all saw me react crazy. Robbie Chosen just got a reception in 2025. I just didn't expect to see that.
Wow.
I was expecting to see that.
He's back.
But
breaking news.
When it comes to the running game, I'm going to choose to point out one bright moment because we've slandered the run defense for quite a bit, deservedly so. And I'll say it's a Danny Stutzman highlight, right? And I don't think that there was much good from the run. So I know everybody might be like, what is this guy even talking about? There was one play that stood out to me, though. It was a run to the defensive left. And you saw that the Bears tried to get all the flow going towards the defensive right. And Stutzman read it, and then he reversed field. And I think he stopped for like maybe a half-yard gain. And it was nice to see the reaction, to see the flow, to see the hit power, to see a running back just stop where he was. It was these type of things that make you excited. I think that the interesting thing about Danny Stutzman is I feel like 90 to 95% of his hype is Pete Werner hate. Like, I feel like a lot of it is we don't like Pete Werner. Pete Werner's not doing a good job. Let's get somebody else in. It was nice to see Danny Stutzman, when given the opportunity, substantiate that hype and not just say we don't want this guy, but to actually give a reason for fans to want him. Now, I know there's not a lot of good to come out of this, but I did think seeing at least that one play, and maybe it'll trickle into other plays, was a refreshing sight, I'll say the least.
Yeah, I would agree. That I'd say we overshadowed Quincy Riley. I'm making that read and getting that pick.
He'll come up in the next. He'll come up in the next.
He will. But I mean, like, I'm just saying, like,
Thanks,
between him, Stutzman, and then what we've seen out of Jonas Sanker, I mean, there is some encouragement of some of the guys that you have, the young guys on this defense. It's just with this scheme for Brandon Staley, it's taking way more time than it should right now, and the execution isn't there. And either you don't have the players to make it, and you need to find the players to make it, or the players that are there have to make the plays or see the bench. I just feel like it's kind of going there, and I don't think it's by chance that we're seeing more Stutzman. We're seeing a lot more Isaiah Stallbird. He's earned his way to to get some playing time, playing some more on those third downs and such. So it's really interesting. I don't know that you're saying they're phasing out Pete Werner. Maybe he gets traded. I don't know. That's a potential one to watch, but I think with this defense overall, it's refreshing to see some plays like that from Stutzman, some plays like Riley and Sanker that, maybe it can be good after all, but we got a long ways to go for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's jump to our last break. And then when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of positives with some players of the game. If y'all have any chat questions I want to ask that we might get to, you can use hashtag Quincy Riley pick. Let's do that because, we're going to hear a little bit more about Quincy Riley coming up right next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We did it with my friend last weekend, and we placed that $5 bet. It won, placed it on an easy bet to win, and then $300 in bonus bets to play with. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's the perfect time to do so. With basketball season also coming up quick, it's going to be a lot of more opportunities to get in on the action. So visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app, and place $5. And if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. All right, wrapping it up today, let's get to our players of the game. And I'm going to start us off because I've been waiting to talk about this guy all day. I was trying to find the moment. Let's go Quincy Riley. Feels great to say. I'm a huge Quincy Riley fan. Last week, I said that I think he's the cornerback one. He's the best cornerback on this team right now. He's been playing like it, and today proved it. And that interception specifically, this was not an interception that was gifted to him. This is what he did in college. He created that interception. He jumped the route. He came back, made a great play on the ball, and he was I think it was a great game. He was targeted 6 times, allowed 3 catches for 25 yards, and I think that you have to take that in a game like this with that interception. And he also, credit to him, got a stop in the run game. So you need to see your quarterbacks do that.
It was a sideline play. It really helped set up a different situation. But, I think it's encouraging to see him play at that level and getting opportunities. And I think we said this months ago that, we expected to see a lot of these players at some point. And Riley – got a bright future if he can just continue to get the work. And that's part of the thing with some of these young players is getting the live bullets. And I think he's done. He deserves to be mentioned. And I know it was a crappy effort mostly on defense, but I thought Riley was a bright spot for sure.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah, he's we've been seeing the young players come in, and credit to them, they're standing out in positive ways. They're taking their lumps. Jonas Sanker we've seen since getting thrown into the starter. We've seen good plays. We've seen a lot of bad plays. We've seen Quincy Riley get beat. We've seen, we haven't seen Danny Stutzman do anything too bad yet, but it'll come. It's growing pains. But overall, I think we continue to see this rookie class look good from what we can see. And I'll be very interested to see what it looks like whenever Tyler Shuck finally gets that shot. Because then if you hit on Tyler Shuck, somehow, then this becomes one of the best draft classes in team history. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, you on the quarterback, you got a real good draft class because we've highlighted every single rookie that has played outside of Christian Boyd because he played one game and got hurt. We've highlighted every single rookie who has played significant snaps. You had what do you say? Did I call him the wrong name?
You said Christian Boyd. That was last.
Oh, my apologies. I'm a Christian Boyd fan. I think that was my hope. But you've seen Riley. You just highlighted him as player of the game. We've seen Sanker. We've highlighted him as player of the game. He's made plays throughout multiple matchups. And we don't really give offensive tackle player of the game, but if we did Kelvin Banks Jr., probably would have gotten it at some point too. So if you hit on the quarterback, you're talking about a draft class that really shot up. So yeah, 100%. I don't think you said anything wrong there.
Yeah, I think you got to put in Devin Neal. I mean, he's probably going to get more of a featured role now because Miller has a knee injury, and I think there's some concern there from what I've read and heard. Same thing with Eric McCoy, just went out with that biceps injury. That did not look good, and he could be out for a little bit. But Devin Neal had a heck of a blitz pickup that helped save Rattler's bacon today too. So, I mean, he might be a little bit more. He's a little late, but you know, he got him. He got him. That's the thing AK didn't get him a couple times too. So, but,
for sure,
yeah, that was rough.
I don't know. Yeah. So,
all right, John, who is your player of the game?
I mean, I touched on him, but I got to give it to Chris Olave. I mean, that's kind of the no-brainer pick here. You know, 7 targets, 5 catches, 98 yards, 2 TDs, 57-yard bomb he got, and that was the longest as his career first multi-touchdown game. I mean, Olave looked pretty good, and again, there's a lot of speculation has been said and that he's going to be traded and all this, but counterpoint is the Saints are trying to get a long-term deal with them done. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of interesting information that comes out. And we've talked about it. That was probably about as close to him being a wide receiver 1 performance as I've seen out of Chris Olave in a while. Right. And so I still think there's you leave a lot to the imagination, but I think with Olave's performance, the way he was able to get some of those catches and just be able to get open and do some things, I can't ignore him being a player of the game for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you got to feel, you know, we've talked a lot about Chris Olave the past week. Is he a wide receiver 1? Is he a wide receiver 2? Do you trade him? Do you extend him? If he plays like he plays today, I don't have a problem giving him another contract. But the thing is, we just don't see it consistently enough right now. So it's interesting. The talk around there being a long-term extension talks makes me think he's definitely not getting moved this year because you don't have to move him yet. You don't have to trade him at this deadline. So if they're trying to get something long-term, I think that they'll probably keep him. And then if a trade comes, it'll come later. Lance. Sorry, Darren, I'm going to give you the toughest one.
I also think that hearing that they're working on an extension could be gamesmanship. Yeah, and they could very well be working on an extension just to see where his team is at, because they don't have to do an extension right now. They could be talking to see, hey, are they going to want $30 million like the top tier number 1 receivers in the league are getting, or are they going to work on a hometown discount? Does he want $18 million a year? Like where are we at? And then when there's talks of extension in the public, other teams can be like, oh, okay, well, if we're going to trade for this kid, like obviously he's going to want an extension. So that's something that would be, I would say, probably in the cards if he is to be dealt, even though a team doesn't have to extend him because they've got another year with him under his mid-year option. So I don't think anything is for certain, right? We don't know for sure if they're going to keep him on the roster. We don't know for sure if they're going to extend him or agree to an extension. We don't know for sure whether he's going to be traded, but I do know I was encouraged by what I saw from him today. There was a situation earlier in the game. He got contacted by a linebacker, went down, seemed to have sprained his ankle, limped off the field. And that was before the big plays happened. He responded well after that situation. He was still limping around the field a little bit from time to time, but he played the way that he's supposed to play today. We shouldn't be surprised by it because that should be the expectation. The bare minimum, in my opinion, for a number 1 receiver should be 100 yards a game. That's what it should look like from your number 1 receiver. He looked good. He went up in traffic. He made plays with his hands. I commented on the long post pattern that he caught. If he sticks his foot in the ground or gives a jab toward the outside on that route, he scores a touchdown instead of just running a straight line and getting tackled because he's slowing down to make the catch. Those are like the fine little nuances that are associated with top tier receiver play that you need from your number 1 receiver. Sure, great play, big chunk play, a play that we've been waiting for all season, right? We haven't had enough of those. But if he adds a little detail to that specific play, we're talking about a touchdown. and not a first down. So, yes, I love what I saw from him. Yes, 100% the player of the game. And yes, I'm stalling and talking more about Chris Olave because I don't have another answer for it. No,
I mean, I don't know. You probably can stop it unless you put in like Juwan or DeMario, but
Juwan.
I mean, he had 5 catches for 79 yards.
Juwan.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just looking at the stats for you. I'm just trying to help you out. But I mean, you know what's funny is they had the broadcast. At one point, Daryl Johnson said, Juwan Johnson, I don't know what you're doing. Because it was like he was supposed to block and he just wasn't blocking or something like that. Anyways, but
there's a lot of that today.
Yeah, there was.
Look, man, for the amount of money that Juwan Johnson is being paid, he needs to make all of those plays that he made today and then some.
And catch that pass that he
missed a couple. He missed a couple.
Exactly.
The one in traffic. Missed a couple in the first half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
There was games in my career that I had over 100 yards or multiple touchdowns, but I had like one drop. And I was sick to my stomach. Felt like I played terrible, even though the stat sheet would look great.
Mm-hmm. Darian, is there anyone? Go ahead.
I just think the level of expectation for your alleged better players needs to be higher. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. Shouldn't take a low bar.
Darian, did you have another one that you want to shout out? Because if not, I do have something that we haven't talked about. I feel like we have to talk about.
No, it's Olave. I can't in good faith give it to anybody else. So let's get to the other thing.
Other thing, Blake Groupie.
Oh man, almost forgot.
We haven't said his name today.
I did forget.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all tried.
Blake Groupie 0 for 1. He had that. He had the good game last week, but now again misses another field goal. I feel like there has to be a change at some point soon. Like, I mean, I feel like we keep saying it, but you just can't go out and at some point it becomes malpractice to keep running out the guy who is, I think, right now the worst kicker in the NFL, the least reliable right now, in my opinion. Yeah. So I feel like at a point, 14-20. He's missed 6 field goals already. It's really, propped up by the one game where he got a lot of chances and was able to make a bunch of field goals. But outside of that, I feel like we have to touch on it real quick before the show ends.
I think at some point you got to say, I just don't, I hate hearing about the operation was bad or something like that. Like, you still need to boot your kicks. And the fact is, for me, a lot of the kicks that he's missed have been inside the Superdome. And that's about as easy of a venue you can get other than trying to kick at Mile High Stadium when the weather's perfect because you got the altitude with you, right? But
I'm gonna vote Lance real quick with the whole the operation was bad. You have one job. It's your one thing you gotta do. Do it. Execute it.
There's only one guy out there to kick it.
Yeah. Right.
It needs to be another. It needs to be. I think we're there. I was already there. And I think that, was it after, I can't remember which game it was after, but Kellen Moore came out and he gave a vote of confidence. And then I think it was right before Groupie came in and had his good game. And now we're right back here. The sample size is enough. And I understand that you have a belief in Groupie that he can be the guy he was a week ago. Through 7 weeks, he has not been. Through 7 weeks, he has not been the guy you thought he could be. He has been the guy who has been inconsistent. He has been the guy who, in my opinion, has been more defined by his struggles this year than he has in the past. Those issues of not being able to make kicks in the clutch moments or when points are necessary, I saw them in his first couple of years. But I thought he drowned them out with other moments, and it felt like maybe he was ascending at times. Now, that's been the entirety of this campaign. The almost entirety of the campaign has been, if the Saints need Blake Groupie, Groupie's not showing up. He just isn't. And what more do you need to see? How much more do you need to see? Because it's not what do you need to see. I've seen it. But how many more times do you need to see it? That's the question that only Kellen Moore can answer. I know what my answer is. I know what John's answer is. I know what Lance's answer is. I know what Dylan's answer is. And I think we all are in agreement on this. It's time to make a change. It was probably overdue. But does Kellen Moore agree with us? That's something we'll see. And I'll be monitoring it. I think we should all be monitoring it.
70% accuracy right now, and he's left 18 points off the board. I mean, I can understand a couple misses, but 70% as a kicker doesn't cut it. Not on field goals.
No, and what's the message that you're sending to the rest of the team? Everybody's replaceable,
mediocrity,
except our kicker.
Yeah, I was gonna say mediocrity is okay. Like that's the message.
Yeah,
I feel
I mean,
like.
I mean, and look, I wouldn't even be surprised if they activate Charlie Smith, keep Groupie on the active roster, and like make him game day inactive for however long. I don't see them just flat out cutting Blake Groupie because, like was mentioned in the chat, Groupie's a captain. But at the end of the day, if said player at another position is, I guess, playing at the level that Blake Groupie is, he would probably be replaced and have been replaced by now. So just because he's a kicker doesn't mean he's irreplaceable.
Let me add something on that. You say probably. I think we can point to Pete Werner having his struggles, and now we're seeing more Stallbird and Stutzman. We can point to Ike, who's out with an injury right now, but I think we started to see that take over by Quincy Riley before. We saw players who are veterans, no, not captains, but veterans who have struggled, and you replaced them with other players. I think that you made the best point. Everybody's replaceable but the kicker? Everybody? Like, come on. At some point, mediocrity should not be accepted because it is contagious, in my opinion. And that's when you just start getting everybody just, what about him? He's doing this. What about him? He's not having any repercussions. And that's not.
Bring some workouts in. Bring in workouts, tryouts.
We have another kicker.
Light a fire.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, if
a bare minimum.
Workouts,
I think
tryouts,
at least get a tryout. I think a replacement, but at least a tryout.
Yeah, because the thing is, with him being an IPP player, international pathway player, I think there's extra things. I don't recall if you actually can bring up Charlie or how that works. But
I mean, they would have to sign him to the active roster, which means they'd have to make a corresponding move. I'm almost positive that's what they would have to do. It wouldn't be the same as a game day activation or call up from the practice squad.
Yeah, way different. There's different rules with that.
Well, I know one place where mediocrity is not accepted. That's right here on the Saints Squad Show. Thank you for listening to the Saints Squad Show. Check out me, Lance, John, and Darian on our socials for the latest. And, of course, check out Locked On Saints and Ross Jackson for the up-to-minute latest and greatest on all things New Orleans Saints. We'll be right back here on Wednesday to talk more, a little bit more trade talk, a little bit more, Tyler Shuck talk. It's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks for the New Orleans Saints and the podcasters that have to talk about them, aka us.